Everybody, welcome back to the Alchemical Life podcast. Today I have my mom on. Hi, Mom.
Hi, baby.
She also goes by Lori, but I
Hi.
call her Mom.
Yes, you do.
This
As
is not
you
your.
should.
This is not your first. Well, sometimes I call you Lori.
I know. I know.
Have the mic a little bit. You want it to be like as Joe Rogan says, a fist away from your face. Good.
Good.
Okay. Good. Hey, your eyes match your shirt, or your shirt brings out your eyes more. Your eyes look very green.
Olive is my color.
Yes. Well, thanks for coming on. This is not your first podcast with me.
No, but thanks for having me again.
You've done them before. So I gave her a really large notice to prepare for this. It was about an hour and a half.
Yeah, as usual.
Yes.
That's pretty typical.
Anyways, I wanted to bring you on the podcast today to have a little mom-daughter talk.
All right, let's do it,
Because
baby.
I feel like we do it all the time.
We do.
But we're just going to record it now. So we both have had quite an evolution, I'd say the past 5 years
Facts.
since COVID.
Yes.
I feel like things have just rolled a lot for you, but also a lot for me.
Yeah.
And
Been pivotal.
yeah, you went from pre-COVID to dad passing away, divorce, moved into, since then, 2 houses.
Major renovations on the second
Major
house.
renovations on the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Started your own business.
Yep.
I don't know what else. Way more, but I feel like those are some of the major.
Yes.
Yeah. And ironically, your business is home organization and also life coaching and life skills. And I feel like when you go through something so transitional as that, you almost like wish you had one of yourselves.
That is so true. That is so true.
But I wanted to delve into that a little bit with you today because I wanted to talk a little bit about what it was like starting your business and starting your business in such a kind of, as I would say, maybe accurately or not, chaotic time in your life where you were doing
intentional chaos. Some of it came without, obviously, my dad passing away was a surprise.
Yeah.
But it was intentional chaos. I leaned into the process of dismantling and reassembling.
Yeah. And that leaning in process, what did that look like for you?
It was a wiggly process. It was getting very daily and almost minute to minute intentional on personal development and changing the way that I think, the way that I see myself, the way that I see the world, the way that I had to dismantle, previous labels. I mean, I'm a child of the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't want to sound like women had it so hard, but there were definite
Stigmas.
No, I don't even want to say stigmas, okay? Because I don't want to be. I'm not that person who's walking around. I don't have any chips on my shoulder about what it is. It was just that it would be easy to get stuck in preconceived ideas of what I should be.
Mm.
It would be very easy for me to say, this is what a mother should be. This is what a wife should be.
Yes.
This is what, this is what religion is. This is what just roles in general.
Well, and you spent 24 years raising us as like in a marriage, and you were a stay-at-home mom. And that was an agreed upon thing of like, I'm going to ball out at home and make sure these kids are cared for and run around like a mad woman all day and make sure the house is taken care of. Like keep some order to all of this, which I think also built up to your job that you have now and why you're so good at it. But it was not just necessarily maybe a societal ingrained thing. It was also, or a religiously ingrained thing. It was, or influenced thing, we could say. But it was also just kind of the life you lived.
It was something that I wanted different for my kids than what I had growing up. Because most people my age would understand that latchkey kid thing. And many of us, I mean, there's all those memes and viral posts about, us being raised by wolves and
Drinking out the hose.
that was, I mean, please, that's where you got your water, like whatever. I mean, the metal slides were kind of freaking savage, but it was just different. So I didn't feel that lifestyle didn't make me feel neglected or whatever. We just grew up faster. We just were
a little tougher.
A little tougher.
A little edgier.
A little edgier.
Yeah.
And my personality lends itself towards that anyway.
Well, and you also grew up in New Orleans.
I grew up in New Orleans and then on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And I did happen to have parents that were not really into that parenting thing.
Yeah. So you grew up even more on the edgier, tougher.
Yeah, because so I did have that on top of the time in life that it was.
Right.
Right. But so I had to make decisions. My decision, first part of my life, I'm in the third phase of my life. I call it the third life I'm having on this planet.
Yeah.
The first 25-ish, 27 years, I was literally I felt like I was at the disposal of other people. And I had a lot of things happen to me. I had a lot of experiences that could potentially screw you up for the rest of your days, you know, if you allowed them to.
Yes.
And then I spent 25 years in a marriage as a stay-at-home mom, raising the kids. And I was doing a whole 180, like, okay, I'm going to flip the script. As far as what I think is right or what I've experienced, I'm going to do it different. Mm-hmm. I'm going to,
very by the book, in quote.
By the book.
Yeah.
By the book. And
the book was the Bible.
It was. You know
Yes.
what? And I read it cover to cover multiple times.
Yes.
And I went to Bible studies and I went to, and there's a lot of truth in there, a lot of healing in there, a lot of obviously life wisdom in there. You can study it your whole life.
Absolutely. And did you feel like you fit into that either?
Okay. So truth is truth. All right.
Yes.
And I have no problem. The book gave me questions, lots and lots of questions that it gives everybody questions. I don't want to get bogged down in that so much as
the relationships, the dynamics, the church that came out of that's all part of it. That was all part of the evolution. And
we'll get to that because I know that it affected you kids as well. But we don't want to throw the Jesus out with the bathwater, so to speak. And
no, but I'm more curious about in your evolution, like where you felt you fit in with that group in that time of your life. Did you still feel in some ways like you said the first time, the first part of your life, you were almost like what is it? You said it was
I was at the disposal of
you were
other
at the disposal
people.
of others.
No control.
Did you feel any remnants of that in the second phase of your life?
Well, I had what I perceived as control.
Right.
You know? I mean, when we get into the
right, I'm an
phase,
adult. I'm raising kids. I'm in church. I'm doing the thing.
I'm the one making the decisions.
Yeah.
I get to. Yeah. Now I was not in control of jack shit, but
no,
I mean,
none of us are.
But
Yeah.
but I mean, it felt like I was.
Yeah.
And I made decisions there, like to go by the book. And so, did I feel like I fit in? 100% zero, no.
Okay.
But there were beautiful things about that time, beautiful people that I met along the way that really sewed into my life.
Yeah.
Helped me with my growth. But I did become a bit of a chameleon on purpose. It was me saying, okay, I'm going to kind of wipe the slate and start fresh. And so if they dressed this way, I would dress this way. If they were baking bread, I was baking bread. If I
got good at baking bread.
I did get good at baking bread. And you know what? And I started sewing and I started doing, and I was kind of like on an exploration to see what,
I went to crochet classes with you.
Did I do that?
Yeah. I went to crochet classes with you.
I was really bad at that.
I was pretty good actually. And let me tell you, there was nobody like you were the youngest person there. I mean, other than me.
I probably had to be.
Yeah. It was.
I think it's
I made
beautiful.
friends with it. It was cool. I miss like homies, you know, how you doing, Nona? Like what is up?
Well, you know what? Something about the older ladies don't don't miss that. Like, don't miss experiencing the older women, because they don't give a crap anymore for the most part.
Oh.
And they're going to tell you like it is.
Yes.
You know?
And they got some judgments.
You know what? It depends on the crowd.
Yeah.
It does depend on the crowd, but they have wisdom that you can't buy.
Yes.
You can't buy it. And if you can receive it, they can actually save you a few years on your journey to healing and enlightenment and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
You know, they can help you to skip some steps. Like, take my advice. Don't even go down this road because of da, da, da. And not everybody has the right words that you need. I mean, not everybody, but just anyway, older people, they are the shit. They really are.
I hang out with mostly older people.
You know, they've been there, they've done it, they've seen it. And then they've, hopefully, if they're doing their own work, they've unraveled some of the bullshit that they were taught. Right.
Yeah. So what would you title this second life of momming and churching and wifing and chameleoning?
Yeah. Well, I did that on purpose because I thought, okay, my role models sucked.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do what they do. And then I had to realize that that wasn't the thing. It was
but what's the
I
title?
needed to do that. What was the question?
What's the title? What
The
would you title
title
it?
would be Healing and Exploration.
Okay. And
I was
so
in a safe place where I could explore sewing and baking bread and, you know, having tea parties with my kids for about the 15 minutes that I could tolerate it.
What'd you not feel safe to do?
Self-imposed. I'm not gonna put this on anybody else.
Yeah.
I would put it on maybe the previous, life.
Yeah.
Would be I didn't feel safe to fully be myself. I didn't feel safe to pursue or really push to pursue what I felt like was my life calling, which
Okay.
is helping people to get unstuck.
Yeah.
And I did try a couple of times in the church, and I don't want to have any blasting against the church, because the church was beautiful and it's also full of humans.
Yeah.
And so I expect there to be problems,
Right.
But they, women just were not really,
Yeah.
free to be me
Yeah.
kind of a thing. That just
Yeah.
wasn't really done.
Yeah.
So I think it's getting a little bit better, but at that time,
You have a different personality, a different energy, a different attitude to you. That
Do you
just
think?
doesn't really jive with some of the women in the church, I think.
well, there's that.
Yeah.
There's that. I don't think it was the women of the,
And I think that whatever I got, I fucking inherited tenfold from you.
well, because, the joy of this whole raising of my kids is that you all get to leap off my shoulders. And
Yeah,
so
100%.
even though I was wiggling around and trying to figure myself out, and I was not a perfect parent by any stretch of the imagination, couple of things that I think I did do right was give sincere apologies and change.
Yeah.
And then when I recognized that I had been holding you back in an area, encouraging you to be fully yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if met with resistance at first, because I think when you're a mom and you don't know, you want to always protect your kids, there would sometimes be a little bit of a grasping, like, what are you doing? But always, 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 I feel like you would come around and let go and be like, this is your life. Like, you get to live it how you want.
Yeah.
And let me help you. Like, danger aside, like, let me help you facilitate that.
Yes. Yes. I agree with that. And you were talking about what it was like to raise you.
We're going to get into that because I want to first let's title the third part of your life, because this gets into your business and this gets into facing, I think, a lot of these deep, deep rooted things. Like, I feel like in the past, you say that, I feel like in the past 5 years, which is probably when you would say the third phase has begun, the third life has begun, you have done the deepest evolution.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah.
So what would we title the third life before we get into it?
It would have to be trust and freedom.
Mm.
Yeah. Trusting me
Mm.
again,
That's real.
and then living free.
Yeah. What is living free to you?
Living free to me is being able to say no to me when I know that it hurts me.
Mm-hmm.
It's being able to say no to somebody else when they're crossing a boundary.
Ooh.
It's being courageous enough to do what I need to do, whatever steps I was too afraid to take before, to go ahead and take those steps because other women, other men, maybe, I mean, I don't know who it's going to affect. It's going to affect everybody. You change anybody, you affect everybody. So
Right.
it's just for the people who need me to be fully me, because I came onto this planet to make a difference. And freedom is having the courage to be that.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it's just to be that, whether anybody thinks it's right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, I have a moral compass, my moral compass, and there are lines that I won't cross. So, you know, breaking a promise to myself, that's not okay. Like, that is, if I say I'm going to do something to someone, I'm going to do it.
Right. Operating with integrity.
So,
honesty, respect toward others,
and it's
respect toward self now. I think that's been a big evolution for both of us.
huge.
Yeah. When that moral code, has that been around since the first life?
Yeah, it has. But the breaking promises to myself was really easy before.
Right.
Because I didn't have strong enough boundaries. And I didn't understand really that freedom came from me
having a boundary,
having boundaries, and not allowing me to cross them and not allowing anyone else to cross them. So I allowed people to cross them all the time.
Well, it feels when you're in an unhealthy space like rigidity and closed offedness and, you know, or closed mindedness.
Right.
And that's not what not freedom is. Like, having freedom actually can be rigid sometimes. Having freedom can be closed off to something, because there are certain things and certain lines that you just will not cross.
Right.
And because of that, ultimately it sets you free from all of the suffering that not having those boundaries, I think, would create.
True. But it's also like, it's not with judgment. So it's not a rigidity towards someone else. It's just a rigidity
in the way you operate in life.
Right. This is my space.
And the way you allow people to operate with you in life.
Which means the truth is, because I've gotten those borders clear.
Yeah.
People can come actually closer.
Yeah.
They have a lot more room with me because they're not going to affect me, because they're not moving me to the left and the right. They're just coming into my space, and some of them I allow even closer, and others, it's not even that I put them at arm's length.
No, they just kind of go away.
They just kind of go away. That's how it works.
Yeah.
And so I allow that to just naturally happen. I love people. I love all people because they're quirky as hell. They're funny to me. I have something to learn from everybody.
Yeah.
And so, you know, unless I get an immediate kind of a check, I'm willing to have a conversation or bring anybody in. But that kind of goes with my business too, because I have to go into people's spaces, and we can talk about that one.
What was the biggest fear you faced when you starting your own business?
I don't know, homelessness, poverty, you know.
So it was more monetary, or I'm going to fail and it's going to have consequences on my actual quality of life. On mine and of course y'all's, right. You know, my kids. So yeah, that was a big deal. But I'm unhireable. And I say that with love and respect to myself. It's just that I can work with people as an independent contractor.
but I cannot have
A boss
it's
telling you when you have to go into work, and
right.
you have clients that tell you when you go into work.
I'll go.
Yes.
I'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning
I know you
and
will.
do a job,
I know you will.
but I'm not going to go in at 8 o'clock just to sit there and clock time.
Yeah.
It's a waste of everybody's time.
Right.
It's like, it's that kind of thinking.
Well, it's just not fulfilling to you.
It's not sensible.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And so I can't do things that don't make sense.
Right.
So that, and I don't want anybody else telling me what I'm worth. You know,
Right.
I had to figure out what I, like when I was figuring out pricing for my work,
I remember.
it was the one
You still are scaling that because it always shifts and changes as you get better and as you learn the job's better.
Oh, yeah.
And you still struggle with it sometimes.
Yeah. And
I do too.
basically what I had to do was the one that I could look you in the eye and say the price and know in my heart. Now, the truth is, I always knew that what I'm doing is my superpower, right? But I wasn't able to say it with as much confidence, and I wasn't able to tell you, I guarantee you, I'm worth every penny and more.
Right.
And I've had clients tell me, somehow you fit more into an hour than an hour's worth of work.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm not bragging. It's more, it's
Because you have systems.
I have systems. I'm passionate. I know how to lead the job. I know
Right.
how to make it work. And it's,
That's a skill. And that skill is worth more time than time.
right. Right. Because I'm not just, it's not just moving. There's a lot to what I do. So, I mean, but when we're ready to talk about that particular aspect, you asked me, I don't want to.
So biggest fear for you was kind of failing.
I just felt the pressure
of
because
provision.
I'm
for
still,
yourself and others. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mostly for others. I mean, I can get by on less.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't want to, but I mean,
the way Lori likes to operate.
The way Lori likes to live.
She likes to have a good time. She likes to enjoy the things that life bring. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
There is nothing wrong with that. So, that was part of it.
Yeah.
It was also, I had to get over just I have to shift into what I do a little bit and how I chose it because it's relevant to this. And that's where the fear is. And
Go into your job.
That's probably where I feel like a lot of people's fear is.
Go into your job.
What I do comes so naturally to me.
Mm-hmm.
That
What's your slogan?
I bring order from chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so natural to me that I didn't realize that it was unique to me, that it was a superpower, that other people couldn't do it. I just didn't quite get that. So primarily what was important was for me to realize that I'm unique, that there may be other organizers, but they won't do it the way that I do. Right. They may do it better in some other ways. I'm not knocking that. It's just I bring my own unique flavor.
Right.
Because of the way I was raised. My mother was a hoarder, no matter what,
Is a hoarder.
Well, no. She's not anymore.
She can't be.
Well, that's why.
She physically can't be.
Okay. I'm going to give her props where I can give her props, But the point is,
not for not trying.
She was very comfortable in chaos.
Oh,
she was very comfortable in chaos, and I was very comfortable in order from birth. So, can you imagine the tick in my eye for 18 years? It was hard.
Yeah, but what you do now is you essentially go into people's homes, lives. It's a very physical but also emotional cleanup, because what you're doing is you're going into maybe their closet, maybe it's their kitchen, maybe it's their whole house, maybe it's whatever it is, and you're saying, not only are we going to look at all this, we're going to look all this shit in the face. We're going to go through everything. We're going to get rid of a lot of stuff. You're going to have to learn to let go of a lot of legitimate physical and potential emotional baggage that has been built up in this space, because I think that true hoarders, like, it's emotional. And like, I'm going to hold your hand through the process, which is also hard to do, you know, because you can clear a room and then you can also, you know, have an unraveling of sort with somebody. And that's different. And then to be able to now say, now that this is empty, let's build something here. And I'm going to give you systems to create a flow, which is also, that's an emotional thing as well. The flow of a space is like, feng shui is not just a kitschy term. It is real. And now I'm going to give you these systems to have with you forever, so that when life feels chaotic, you have now these systems to crash onto and they will not fail you. And that's fucking cool, because not only are you helping people physically, but emotionally. Like, there's nothing, when my outer world is in disarray, first of all, it's definitely a reflection of the inner world.
100%.
Like, internally I'm fucked up, so my outer world has become in disarray. But I guarantee you, when my outer world is in disarray, it's going to also make the inner world worse.
Facts.
And so to be able to clean up somebody's shit, it's like, that is not a light thing.
No. It's one of the reasons why I got my life coaching certificate also. I've always had people come to me with their problems, talk to me about what's going on in their world, you know, share with me things that you wouldn't normally share with just anybody. And so I know that people were seeking, it was like they sensed a safety there. And it's again, I have to, you know, kind of credit my upbringing. Mm-hmm. That first third of my life was so jacked up. I've said this multiple times to people, but I'm not afraid of the dark.
Right.
So you can't say something that will shock me.
Right.
And I'll know when you're trying to.
Right.
Like, when you're just trying to shock me, I'm kind of like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, but
you have no idea what I've seen.
And well, or, you know, it's like, I'm able. So the thing is, I energetically will kind of mold with someone. Yeah. I will come into their space with their permission. And none of this is an actual conversation. Hey, I'd like to energetically mold with you.
It's just a thing.
It's just a thing that happens.
It's called being an empath.
It's called being an empath. And so what I'll do is I'll get into their space. But you see, there's shame, guilt, and fear that's all attached
for sure
to this. Primarily, not just women, men feel it as well, but primarily my women clients feel like they should
have their shit together,
be able to do this themselves. Mm-hmm. And I bet you've never seen a place as bad as this one. And I'm just kind of like, you have no idea. And I'll tell them, you know, but because I come into their space with no judgment and only solutions, and I'll tell them, I absolutely can help you to get out of this. Mm-hmm. And then we just start talking facts. There's no emotion. There's no judgment. There's none of that. So that's why sometimes, like, family can't help, because they have an emotional thing. Like, I had to practice with my mom multiple times. And I'm going to tell you, it took me until the very last time, which was in 2020, to get to the space where it was non-judgment for her, because I had an emotional dynamic with her
100%
that was very, very hard.
Yeah.
So I know what it's like when you have someone come in and say, why are you keeping this stuff? You've got 6 of them. I don't understand. What's your problem? And da 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 da. And then they dig in their heels.
Yep.
Because they're feeling shame, they're feeling guilt, but they're also feeling like they need to defend themselves.
Yeah.
So when I'm able to come in and do that, and I know the process, I know where we need to start, I know the messy middle, I know how to close it up when we can't do it all in one day.
Right.
So that they can have, you know,
some fucking breathing room.
And still function in the space, you know, be able to function in the space. And, you know, like I had a client last week tell me, I don't think we're going to be able to get this done. It's just not going to be possible. We now only have like an hour and a half. This is too big. I said, you're going to have to trust me. Mm-hmm. We had lost 30 minutes on the job for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. But the point is, I said, I know how to do this. I promise you, I'm going to make this whole space is going to be different when I leave. We were not finished,
Mm-hmm.
but she was free. Oh my God. Yeah. You see, now I can see it. I think I can do it from here. I can get the rest of it and da 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 da.
Right.
And then I take away after they, and I'm not trying to get rid of people's stuff.
Right.
I'm never, sometimes I tell them, hold up, you
Right.
know, but the goal is to get rid of the dead weight.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that's holding you back. So that's real life too, right?
Yep.
What is it that's holding you back? And if it's, you know, whatever it is, but usually it's somehow attached to fear.
What's
Fear of judgment, fear of loss, fear I'm going to need it again, fear I spent money on this thing. What if I need da 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 da? You know, and so it's almost like we're still all from the Great Depression or something, and it's like, you know, you're going to be okay. You know, well, what if I gain the weight back? I said, now, what kind of a spirit is that? You know, you've done a really great job and you've lost all this weight. Let's get rid of the larger clothes. Or I'm going to lose that weight. And I say, and so I'll be able to get back into those things. And I say, you know what? You're doing an incredible thing, changing your life.
Mm-hmm.
Your reward is going to be some new clothes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Keep one or two of these that can be like, I'm going to fit into that.
Right.
And they're your favorites.
Yep.
But let's get rid of the rest of them because it's not admitting defeat. That's not the point. That's not, you see, and there's like a lie, like they're telling their brain, well, that means I'm never going to lose the weight and I'm admitting defeat.
Right.
And I'm like, no, that's not actually the truth. What it is now is that you feel the pressure of needing to lose weight, plus you can't find shit in your closet.
Right.
And you go in there and you feel awful because there's all these clothes that you can't fit into. So it's fear, guilt, and shame every damn day.
Right.
I want you to look beautiful in what you're wearing and then keep your goal. So it's just, there's a lot involved. Then I have to go and slough off the energy. And I tell them, I say, you don't have to worry. Every now and then I forget to do it, but you know, I know where to take all of this emotion. It's all right. And sometimes they'll cry. Sometimes they have to stop. Almost every time they have to go lay down when we're finished.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't do the physical work.
Yeah.
Because it was all
That
it's
emotional.
decision fatigue. It's all the emotion of release.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a sacred honor that I get to go into their space and they're allowing me into, that's their haven,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, it's like a little bit of a journal entry of sort, you know, and journal entries it's not the good parts of your life when we're journaling. Like when we're journaling, oftentimes it's when shit is like, why the fuck is this happening in my life? And that's what they're showing you. So, but it's cool because you can enter that space and you can get into that journal entry and they let you in there and they let you read it. What's one thing that you feel is holding you back?
There's two things holding me back. One, scaling. What's holding me back is fear that because I'm only one person and I haven't really found my team.
Yep.
And that's challenging because I can't pay someone like a full-time employee yet because I don't have the work, but I know that the work is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would love some advice on that from any of your listeners that have something about how to scale when you're moving into something new, which I am. I'm starting to specialize in senior relocation because it just seems to happen naturally a lot of times.
Yeah.
Where the parents can't drive anymore, can't do this or that and the other. They have to get into assisted living, or or maybe they passed away, and then the family is like, I don't even know where to start, and I'm going to fight with my mom or whatever. So I'm moving into that, and when I start going to these assisted living places, I'm going to get work.
Yeah.
It scares the crap out of me. I don't want to tell anybody no. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's that. And then the other thing is I really felt like it was my one of my missions, probably because my dad said it, but he told me back then it was I should blog. But I really do feel like I was supposed to have a podcast. And this sounds maybe it is an excuse. I'll have to look at it further, but I had every technical freaking failure that I could have when I was
You
trying
also
to.
have equipment right here.
I know I got equipment right there, but I also, it would require you giving me time that is not easy to carve out too.
You just grab it and then take it to wherever. You don't have to film in here.
Okay. Well, do you think I know how to use that shit?
You press record.
I'm going to slap you. I'm Oh, I love you, dear.
Let's get into our relationship.
Yeah, we'll get into that part.
What
now.
is the perspective being my mom? You can give a Cliff Notes on sort of birth to now.
Well, first of all, in all seriousness, it's an honor. It's an honor being all of your mom. You all have taught me as much, or maybe even more than I've taught you, just by being. I mean, I've told you multiple times when Leah came in and I started seeing myself coming back at me, I was like, oh, hell no. Nope. I'm breaking this chain. And I started working on me hard and fast.
I don't like me as much as I thought I did.
I don't like me. I don't like me coming back at me.
When it shows up in a 3-year-old child, I want to slit a throat. And then I came into the world, Jesus Christ.
You were just an interesting little creature. Yeah.
I'm still an interesting little creature.
You look at your little videos,
I know.
videos.
I had it's so crazy as someone who I will be fearful a lot. I had no fear then.
No.
None.
Nope.
Like
You might have had anxiety. I don't know about that because you had to go to preschool with your blankie and you were sucking your thumb and all, and you could not be without your blankie.
And my stomach would hurt when I would go to school.
Your stomach would hurt when you would go to school. So the anxiety, I think, was there from birth, but you were balls to the wall. And tell me now. I mean, this is, oh God, save me. So I didn't have to spank Leah very much because she just the threat of it was enough to shift her whole behavior. And that was what I was kind of hoping. We're going to have, all I got to do is just say, hey, do you want a spanking? And she would go whoop, and turn around. And
I said, I think I'll get one.
Oh, you were like, bring it. And I mean, as a little bitty thing. And I was just like, this child better go lock herself in her room because somebody's going to get hurt.
It got to the point where it was so casual. You were just like, I was like, which spoon we using today? I would bring the spoon to her. And I was like, can I do the wooden one? She's like, no, metal today. I'm like, fuck. And I'd grab the metal. it was at the point where it was just so nonchalant.
I don't even want. Now, here's the thing. You're going to have people that are kind of like, she spanked her kids. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, I'm into it now.
There's a part of me that, Lord help me. I never want. Here's the thing. I always told my kids, I was like, do you want me to leave you alone?
We didn't gentle parent.
Do you want me to leave you alone?
There was not gentle parenting, and simultaneously, I was a hard candidate to gentle parent.
God, no. Well, I mean, it was basically, I will completely leave you alone if you just even act like you're going to try to obey me. Just a little bit.
No.
Thank you. And so I just remember one time that I put you in your room because I was like, I'm just going to put her in a timeout. And she took this kid was still in diapers now, walking all over the place, 2 and change, I don't know, throwing diapers around and found the baby powder and just went to freaking town all over the whole room. And it was like, she's going to punish me.
Yes.
She's going to punish me.
You put me in my room and I didn't want to be there.
No, you didn't. Yeah. So I knew I found accidentally the secret and then I became very, very careful when I pulled that out.
Yeah. Because it was when I was way older.
Yeah.
I was 16.
Yep.
And it was not actual punishment that did anything
worse.
For me.
You were kind of like, no, can I go get the spoon?
It wasn't punishment that thing was punishing for me. It was literally just disapproval.
I said, I'm very disappointed in you and I don't trust you anymore. And you about fell apart.
Dude, that wrecked me.
It did. And I was like, damn.
Would you just ground me like a normal parent?
like to go back to the spoon.
Because I also had a strong moral code growing up, which I think was the way you guys parented me, and also my religious upbringing. I had a very, very, very strong moral code. And as crazy and chaotic and whatever as I was as a child, I think there were certain lines that I was not, like, I just wouldn't, if I did cross them, I would be like completely guilt ridden, or I just wouldn't cross them.
Right.
And so when did you start noticing my anxiety or me being very anxious?
Well, so you said that you had a strong moral code, but you also were just plain hard on yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
So I know you do have a strong moral code, but I mostly saw you being hard on yourself. And it was so out of all my kids, where I would say, look, and all my kids got really good grades. I'm
One of them's a little iffy.
I'm struggling with the last one, but whatever.
Whatever.
But all my kids got really good grades, and you would get a good grade, but it wasn't good enough. And out of all my kids, you're the one that I had to say, look, you just need to calm down. It's going to be fine. The other ones, I'm like, you need to get your ass up. You need to go do your homework. If you're putting the effort in and you get a bad grade, that's one thing.
Yeah.
And with you, I was just like, you need to just relax. Because I noticed it very clearly in second grade when you would erase the right answer and put the wrong answer because you kept second guessing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn, and I would tell you, trust yourself. Only change the answer if it was like very clear in your mind, oh, this is absolutely wrong. I need to change it. Don't get double-minded. And that was the thing that I still see played out today. Not the changing your answer so much, but being excruciatingly hard on yourself.
Yeah.
And excruciating is actually maybe not even strong enough of a word.
Yeah.
And so I'm a firm believer that you cannot give what you do not have.
Yeah.
You do give people a lot of grace. And maybe you even give yourself a lot of grace.
More than I used to.
More than you used to. But that is where I see you still struggling today. The thing that holds you back is this need to be perfect.
Yeah.
And these ridiculous expectations that you have put on yourself. And to be honest, it reminds me of the Pharisees of the Bible. It reminds me.
That is the meanest thing you have ever said to me, and only Christians will understand that diss. But fuck, dude, that's like so mean.
It's not, no.
The Pharisees are the fucking worst. Like, literally in the Bible, even if you ain't that religious, you're like, yeah, the Pharisees suck. And it's kind of a metaphor. The Pharisees are metaphors for us as humans, really, truly. Like,
we've all had it.
Yeah, because everyone hates the Pharisees, but also like everyone's acted like one at one point.
I was a queen.
Yes, 100%.
I was a queen.
But
at
still,
that.
Damn.
Okay, well, I will explain it a little bit further.
All right, explain it. I mean, give me the hard truth. We always do.
So what it was is, in the Old Testament, God gave the law. Yes. All right. You had to be this many paces away from a woman on her period or whatever.
Yeah. So that's the one that should probably actually still be enacted for the safety of men.
Hey,
that one's the one that you might want to reconsider
I think
adding
it's
the
safety
fuck
emotionally.
In. Yeah.
I think there's a lot
physically,
of, what?
I'm saying.
Right? There is some wisdom there.
Yes.
I mean, so what the Pharisees did was they changed the rules. If God said 200 feet, they said 300 feet. So then if you got 300 feet.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this. I see where you're going.
So you extended the law beyond what it actually was.
If I make this much money, now I have to make this much money. And if I do this many workouts, now I have to do that many workouts. And if I
work
for this many hours, now I have to work for that many hours.
Right. And you're changing your base minimum and it's arbitrary.
If I'm this lean, I have to be this leaner.
And
I
it's arbitrary.
Yeah.
It's not based on.
No, it's actually an impossible task to meet and completely not based in any real deep why other than punishment.
Right.
And thus sets me up to fail, which then I fail, and then the punishment cycle continues, and also the respect for myself dwindles because I cannot uphold this impossible standard to which I held for myself.
Right. Now, if there was anything I would like, if I could ever set anybody free, which I can't set anybody free, but I have guided many people that were ready to be set free to freedom, because it is life coaching and home org and all of that does play together. There's a lot of things that happen with that kind of movement, but if I could impart freedom, that is something I would, you know what? I'd go back and do the work over and just give you mine. I would.
Yeah.
I would give it to you because you're too young, you're too beautiful, you're too amazing, you're doing too many things. You're doing things, you see, and this is what you can't see. Like if you could go back and you could look at me as a kid and all the shit that was happening there and see and say, wait a minute, how did we get here from there? Right? Then you would be so fucking proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't even supposed to be a thing.
Right.
You know, I was probably going to be a stripper or something like that, you know, but
You'd been a good stripper.
Oh, God. Maybe.
I think you'd been a good stripper.
Maybe. I gave my mom a card once. I was like, Mom, it was a Mother's Day card. I still have a picture of it. I was like, I'm not in prison and I'm not a stripper. You did a good job.
I always say to people who they look at my sleeve, and it'll usually be older people, and they're like, "Oh, honey, why you get all those tattoos?" And I was like, "Well, I'm fairly successful. I don't do drugs. I have a good relationship with my family. I have to disappoint them somehow." So I just have these tattoos.
It started with the gauges.
It started with the gauges. I love my gauges.
No, wait, I love them now too.
I know, but
the thing was,
sometimes it's met with a little bit of resistance because you're like,
Jesus.
where the fuck are we going with this?
I'm just like, how big are we going?
And
with
I did
this?
also, I came home with them. Like, I didn't ask permission. It was like I was 15 or something.
Do you ever though?
No, not really. And then in 1 year, I got all of the tattoos I got.
Facts.
So it was very quickly that I acquired a lot of tattoos. So she's like, what is the rate to which and when is it going to pause?
Like at this point, thank God I had gotten to the thing. If I push too hard, she's going to push back harder and she'll end up having face tattoos. Now, listen, for the record, I don't judge anybody for doing that or, you know, but I did hear a comedian who really
face tats aren't
really regretted doing that. You know?
Face tattoos are not going to be my thing. But okay, in the last, because you notice that I always was like a very high energy, a little bit right against authority, a little bit hard on myself person. What have we noticed anything in the past 5 years since COVID, which I'd say is kind of both of our evolutions? Any change, anything different, but bad or better?
Well, there's
worse or better.
No, there's tons that are different. You know, you have evolved. You've had the courage to do a lot of things. I mean, you do know how old you are, right?
Yeah, I'm 24.
Can I just say you're only 24? Like you're only 24 years old.
I feel old though. And
you're talking to a 57-year-old woman and you're telling me that you feel old.
I feel no. I feel like okay, so this is going to reinforce what you're saying. I feel like I should be farther ahead.
Of course you should.
Of
course you should. Of course you should. So, yeah. In the last 5 years, you have, I mean, you started working out with me on a Groupon at Gold's Gym.
When I was like 14.
When you were 14 years old and you were like, this is what I want to do. And you wiggled around and did it crazy and wild. And that's a story for another podcast about the evolution of, you know, still doing what you love, but all the ways that you did it badly.
Yeah.
You know?
Hell yeah.
And then got to the space where you are doing it right, doing it well, doing it healthy, doing it balanced. Ish. Okay. Ish, because you still can't sit still. But, but you moved from someone who worked out to someone who learned about the mechanics
Yeah.
and your body, and you went through whatever processes you needed to go through and still go through regarding eating, regarding working out, regarding being as healthy and as balanced as you can be, and you're training others to do the same. So you have moved into a space where you're actually changing lives because you have testimony after testimony of people who had lost mobility in some part of their body. And they were still too young to stop. You know, they were like fit and in shape, and they had all these things they want to do, and you helped them to recover that. That's freaking badass. And then you went from being an employee to being a business owner.
Yeah.
And you did that because you were not going to compromise the way that you trained your clients, and you were not going to, you're unhireable too. You're just not going to be a corporate trainer. So you started your own thing. I mean, you're self-studied, you've made a lot of changes. And I'll tell you what, you've got the respect of, to have the respect of almost anybody in my generation. I don't know if
I trained mostly your generation.
we're the fuck around and find out people. We
Yeah.
were the ones that were kind of like, you know, we're not going to believe anything that,
Yeah. And I trained mostly your generation.
and we love you.
Yeah. Y'all are awesome.
You know why? Because you actually bring us some change.
Yeah.
You're not just talking shit. You're not just taking our money. You're actually making a difference. And so that is huge.
Yeah.
So I see you living into your purpose. You're still a little too serious, and you can play and be fun and funny, but you're still a little too serious. I feel like that's the part that maybe it's age. I don't know. But there's nothing more freeing than at least trying to let go of the wheel,
Yeah.
you know, and follow the path and just trust that it's going to work out, because it does every single time.
Yeah. And objectively, I can know that and still freak out.
I know.
Yeah. I have an entry that it like rings in my brain all the time. And it was something that I wrote, and I said, I feel like I grasped so tightly at peace that I suffocated myself.
That's some wisdom right there. Can you receive it?
I can. And also it's something that I still struggle with, because in many ways, suffering and punishment was my identity and my purpose, because hard work and being the tenacious kid was what got me the accolades and got me the positive feedback, and she's tough, she has grit, she works hard, she does, you know, like that's what I was. And so that comes from a lot of, it comes from a lot of being serious and freaking nose to the what is the grindstone? Is that what it is?
That is what it is.
Nose to the grindstone and just going, and like doesn't matter how I feel. And so I had to kind of adopt this dissociative, I love suffering, you know, super serious personality, because that's what allowed me to do it, because otherwise I wouldn't have done it. Like I would have just failed at it. And so
I don't believe that at all.
no, I think I wouldn't. I think no, because some of it was just stupid. It was unnecessary. Like I wouldn't have done all the unnecessary stuff. I wouldn't have done the extra, like, you know, 2 workouts a week because she's the one that works hard. I wouldn't have done the extra 45 minutes of studying where I'm fading in and out of like even paying attention, because look at her working so hard.
Right.
You know?
So I had this conversation with someone just the other day, and it was about peace. And I said, you know what? Maybe you stop chasing peace and you just start chasing joy.
Yeah. I know who you had that conversation with. And
you know what? It's and it also comes down to loving who you are. You know, that was the freedom for me. It was understanding, because I've had many failures in my life. I mean, and many wonderful things, but like some pretty massive failures in my life.
Epic fails.
Epic fails. And you have to get to this space where you love you the way that God loves you, which is unconditionally. He loves the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that was always this intellectual, isn't that lovely? But I didn't love me. And so I was ugly to me, and I would punish me in different ways. Now I do love me, and I understand that I'm fallible, and that I make mistakes, but I love me that I keep getting up, and I love the quirky, and I love my unique personality and my dark sense of humor, and just I love me the way that I am, and that's where freedom comes. And so
it doesn't matter then what other people think about you.
It doesn't matter what you think about you. Like when you're getting in your judgment side, it's kind of like, no, I love me. I'm good. You know what? Like I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm whatever. It's okay for me to take a day off. It's okay for me to, I had a deadline that I created that I had to be finished with this many podcasts by this and such time. And I was 3 short, but you were 15 more than,
Yeah.
So that was another thing. You don't celebrate your wins for very long.
No, no, or at all.
Did you see that face you just made? Did you all see that?
No, yeah. I think that I spent a lot of time thinking that somebody else would love me enough that I would eventually love myself. I think that I got it. Some of the relationships looking back reflect this idea of if somebody else loves me enough, if I earn the love of somebody else, then it will like assimilate into my own being and I will love me. And that didn't work, but
really?
That didn't work at all.
Everybody's tried it.
Yeah, it didn't work at all. And then I realized actually that a lot of the relationships that I set up were also deeply ingrained in this feeling of me not loving myself and respecting myself, and also feeling as though I'm undeserving of love from people, that I am a burden to people. And that in turn led me to be constantly in this evaluation of, am I being a burden to people and how can I not? So much so that I became a burden to myself.
You do know that we're all a burden to everybody.
And that's something that I've been trying to embrace, which is everybody's going to be a burden at some point.
Yep.
And the people that I love, it is an honor for them to be a burden around me, because I can be there for them and help them, and I can help carry it for them. It's like, it truly is like, it's something that I feel honored to do in service to them. And I think it takes something from somebody who loves me, who does love me and care for me, in trying so hard to not be a burden and to be fully vulnerable and myself around them, because they're trying to extend a hand and I'm not letting them hold it.
Nope.
And I think that's selfish in some ways.
Yeah, you ought to beat yourself up about that.
And that's another thing I'll punish myself for later. So
I'm just like, you just have to be like, the only reason to gain this awareness is so that you can do better. And when I say do better, for you, for yourself, it's not for you to be aware. And then you would have been Martin Luther just would beat the hell out of himself on the stairs of the church, because he was so unworthy. He was so bad. I mean, literally it's you said it back there, trying to earn your way into love, acceptance, success, whatever. The plumb line, the line that's always there for you, and that's why you're actually doing so well, is that you really do love what you do.
Yeah.
And you love your people.
Yeah.
And so you always show up for that.
Yeah.
And in that way, But as your mother, I would love to see you enjoying the fruits of your labor and recognizing where you are and what you've done, and just maybe let someone who's not quite as jacked crazy as you set your goals for you.
Your goal for this week, this is your task list for the day.
Right. And literally
eat lunch,
rest for 30 minutes if you have to
whoa.
be locked in a padded room.
Jesus.
I know. Look at that. It's just like this is going to take more than one session.
I know. Well, okay. I want to go into before we leave this. What's one lesson we've learned from each other? Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Would you like to finish? How would you like it to go?
I mean, I know mine, and I've talked to you about it.
Yeah. You go first because I'm formulating something.
Okay. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned from you is it's inspired based on the tattoo that I have on my foot, which is what you wrote to me in my card, which is I think of you on those days, when I don't want to do, I think Abigail would do it. And I'm going to cry, bro.
I know.
I'm going to cry. Don't look at me when I say it.
Okay.
But I think, no, you can look at me. But I think that it is why it was so important to me is because you do that for me. Because everything that you've been through, and we've talked about this over the phone, everything that you've been through, I don't know if I would have been able to go through all of those things and be as evolved as you are. And I think part of my duty to you is to continue to grow, because I think part of your purpose here is to create these humans that go out and continue to plant. And so I believe that one of the biggest lessons you taught me is to continue to pursue whatever it is, goodness, service, excellence, to continue to evolve and to continue to grow, because I think you've done it on a scale that most people will never understand. And I know that like you as a mom too, we did not give you a lot of credit for like all of the things that you gave us, but we saw it. Like I saw it. So
you're trying to mess me up.
I know. I'm like really trying not to totally break my voice here, but the tears are going. But I seriously, like just seeing all the stuff that you went through, especially the last 5 years, and the constant push on your being and your soul, and like butting up against all these insecurities and fears of yours, and you continuing to just go and stand really solid in it. Like I was like, my mom, I tell everybody, I'm like, my mom's the toughest fucking most badass person I know. And like, you can't tell me otherwise. So.
Okay. Thank you.
That's probably.
That's really beautiful. And you know what? That is probably the highest honor, praise that I could ever hear. Oof.
Glad I'm not the only one crying.
What you taught me is what I wrote in that card. And that is, I would give up on myself if it got really hard or I got a discouraging word from someone who mattered to me. Anybody that spoke, I don't want to, like, maybe not even intentionally. Maybe they were just trying to make it easier, give me a pressure release, whatever. But what I would call speak death over my goal or my dream in any way, I would quit. And I would get shut down for years at a time. And I was watching you just push and persevere and push and work harder. And it's like, studying is hard for me. And then you like mastered it and you worked harder and you were like, now I didn't realize part of it was part of this whack perfectionism. But I mean, but the truth is.
That's called neuroticism, Lori.
On a 97 scale.
87.
Now it is.
80 was 98 before. But
okay. But who's counting?
We brought it down. We brought it down.
Well, I hope you get that down into the, mine was 6.
Okay. You know what? This isn't a competition. Continue complimenting me.
Competition.
Go back to saying good things about me.
You know what? I am saying good things about you. The truth is, I was trying to do a business that's very, very hard.
Yeah.
And it required me to do things that ended up helping me and prepping me for what I do now. But it's not natural. It wasn't easy. It was embarrassing at times. It was I got my feelings hurt a lot. It was like, whoa. And I just remember one time when I still had more phone calls to make. I had other things, like I was trying to meet this goal and I was trying to do this thing. And I said, Abigail would just push through. So I'm going to do that. And I feel like it taught me to be single-minded in my perseverance. That no matter what the voices are that are coming in, no matter what my feelings are that are trying to, because the enemy of my soul doesn't want me to succeed.
I feel that hard.
Right? Well, you see, you're going to succeed.
Hear a lot of voices.
You're going to succeed, but the key for you is going to be to succeed with joy.
Yeah.
But you're always going to be a success because that's like a driver. But for me, this, like I didn't hit the specific goal that I was looking for, but I pushed through everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I created a course, and then I had to learn how to do videos, and then I had to learn how to edit videos, and I had to whatever. And I was kind of like, you know what? She's doing it. I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
Thank you. That means a lot. I talked about that actually, that last point with one of my clients yesterday about how I think one of my biggest tasks in this life is not going to be, there's going to be an overcoming because there's an overcoming with everything, but I don't think it's going to be all of these tragic events that occur that I'm going to have to, oh my gosh, I legitimately think it's going to have to be me understanding that the hell that I'm in is dictated by my brain, or the heaven that I exist in also dictated by my brain, and to become a master over that in the sense that I don't necessarily let it control how I perceive things, I don't let the thoughts that I think control how I perceive things, and that I can see life as good as I objectively know it is, and beautiful and incredible and exciting and hard and chaotic and heartbreaking, but still see all the beauty in all of those things for what it is, as it is. And that I think is going to be one of my bigger challenges, because truly 100% I believe that everything is good. Like, it is all for good. And also, I am constantly in battle with my brain, where it's like, I've told you about the loops. Sometimes it's like, it's waking up in the morning and my brain is like, you fucking suck. Today fucking sucks. You will never succeed at anything. And you're fat. And also, no one likes you. And, and it's like, rise and shine. Rise and shine.
You don't have to believe all your thoughts because they're not all yours.
No. But that's I think one of my bigger challenges that I'm currently at odds with.
I hope that's the biggest challenge that you face.
Not that I won't face tragedies. There's going to be failures and bad shit that happens.
I hope there's not. Really, but what I want for all of my kids and what I want for all of you is just that you would be free. And that is free from the tyranny of you.
Sure.
Free from the tyranny of anybody else.
Yeah.
Where you love you, and then, you said something to me that I've never forgotten. You love to teach people how to treat you, right? And I
got that from another client, and I fucking love that.
It's
I love
powerful
that saying.
Truth.
I love teaching people how to treat me.
Right. Well, you need to teach yourself how to treat you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You want other people to treat you with respect, you need to do the same for yourself. But, on that note,
Thanks for coming on my podcast, Mom.
thank you for having me again.
Yeah. We'll make this a regular.
Okay.
We can have like talks with Mom. Talks with Mom, a segment
I love that.
where we talk into the ether.
Okay. We
All
can
right.
do that.
I love you.
I love you too.
All right, everybody. Yeah, I don't know. Subscribe, like, comment, and put your socials out there. How can people connect with you? How can people reach you? All that shit.
So Align and Rise with Lori is the name of my business.
I'll put it all in the
because I
down.
was really looking for something incredibly long.
Align and Rise with Lori.
Yeah. And that's where I am on Facebook and on Instagram and even on TikTok. I haven't posted in a long time, and I'm going to get back to that.
Do you have a website?
alignandrisewithlori.com.
Beautiful. Awesome. And that's it. All right, guys. See you next week. I love you.
I love you.
Bye.